Welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to talk about something super important, which is loops. Loops allow your program to repeat tasks again and again, which is incredibly useful. Imagine printing numbers from 1 to 100. Would you write 100 lines of code? The answer is no, because we have Python loops for our rescue. Let's dive into it. I'm in the VS Code with a simple while loop. This while loop will keep on running as long as the condition is true. In this case, the condition is count is less than or equal to 5. Now, here the count is 1, so this condition is true. And this loop will continue to run forever and ever because the condition will always be true. So we don't want this because if it continues to run forever and ever, our program will basically be a breakdown, and we have to close our program in order to stop this code. So when we use while loop, we have to specify an exit condition. We have to do something so that after running a specific number of times, the while loop basically closes. If we do not specify such a condition, this while loop will continue to run forever and ever. This is a property of the while loop. It continues to run as long as the condition we have specified is true. So in order to get out of this while loop, I'll say count is equal to count plus 1. So what it will do is whenever this while loop runs, the value of count will increase by 1. For example, first time when the while loop will run, the value of count will increase from 1 to 2. Second time, it will increase from 2 to 3. And when it will become 6, this condition, while count is less than or equal to 5, this condition will be false, and therefore the while loop will not run and will come out of this while loop. So let's run this code and see what happens. Okay, so this count run, so uh, the code got executed, and we have count is 1, count is 2. So the first time count was 1, and this code ran. But at the end of this while loop, we have count is equal to count plus 1, which means 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So the count became 2. It ran again. This condition is true, therefore we enter the while loop again, and then count is equal to count plus 1. Now the count is 2. So the count was 2. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Now the count is 3. And this continues again and again until we have the count as 6. Now let's see what the count is. Print final count is count. So we run this code, and yes, the final count is 6. So when the count became 6, it exited from this loop, and now we know that count was 6 because we used this statement after the while loop. So after going through the while loop as many times as it took for this condition to become false, at the end we have count is equal to 6. One confusing thing for you might be that we have set count is equal to 1. So every time when this loop runs, the count should be 1. But the point is Python basically goes through this code and then it enters the while loop. Now it will not go through this line again. So in the back end, it will continue to increase the value of count, although we have written count is equal to 1 because it is in the previous line. And when it will execute the count, it will continue to increase its value in the backend. To explain it, let me show you something. I say x is equal to 1. Now when I say x is equal to x plus 1, and now I will print x. Now let's run this code, and you can see the value of x is 2 because I specified x is equal to 1, and then I specified x is equal to x plus 1. The same happened in that particular code. In this code, I have specified count is equal to 1, but when it went through this while loop, the count continues to increase in the backend. Therefore, we do not see in this code that count is increasing, but in the backend count is increasing, and it increases up to 6. And when it becomes 6, we exit the loop. Let's talk about the second type of loop, the for loop. This is one of the most common ways to repeat a code in Python. A for loop is used when you know in advance how many times you want to repeat something. Imagine this, you have to give chocolates to 5 friends. Now you don't have to write something like this, print give chocolate to friend 1, like this for 5 times. You can simply use a for loop to repeat the code for 5 times. Now let's break down the code that we have written here. For I means we are creating a temporary variable I. You can name it anything. You can name it X, you can name it num, or you can even say friend number, anything. In range 1 to 6 means that start from 1 and go up to but not including 6, which means up to 5. So Python will give you these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now every time this loop runs, I takes one of these numbers and runs the code below. It's like saying, it's like the Python is saying, now I is 1, run the code. Now I is 2, run the code again. And so on until and unless the value of I becomes 5. When it becomes 5, the loop will end. Let's run this code. Now you can see the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. First, I took the number 1, then it took the number 2, the second time the code ran, 3, 4, and 5. And after it became 5, as we have specified the range 1, 2, but not including 6. Therefore, when it became 5, the code stopped. So we know in advance how many times we want our code to run. Now let's go into detail about the range function. Now let's go through what the range function really does. Basically, in the range function, you mention where you have to start, then you mention where you have to stop, and you can also mention the step, which means how many numbers you want to skip, many steps you want to take. For example, if I say range 1 comma 6, it will mean 1 starting from 1 and up to 6 but not including 6, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I say a range 0 comma 10 and 2, it means 0 up to but not including 10 and taking 2 steps at a time. So it will say 0 comma 2 4 because we have specified 2 steps above from 0 it's 2, then further 2 steps is 4, further 2 steps 6, and further 2 steps 8. Now remember the last number that you specify, the stop number that you specify is not run. This will not be included in this particular code. It will stop uh, one number before this one. And here we have specified 2 steps, so it will stop at 8 because after 8 it has to print 10 according to this 2-step thing. But since it will not print out this thing, this that does not include this stop number, therefore it will not print out the word 10. It does not include. Now we can also go from uh, higher number to lower number. For example, we have 5, 0. We have to go from 5 and up to 0, but not including 0. And we have also specified the step as -1. So it will go from 5, then it will go -1 step 4, -1 step 3, -1 step 2, and -1 step 1. So that's how the range function basically works, what the range function basically is. Let's go back to the code we used previously. Now there are many things we can do in this within this for loop. For example, we can use the break function. Let's say we have here 10 and we say if I is equal to 5, now I say break. Now it will do is it will stop the loop immediately when this condition is met. So let's run this code, and it ran till 4 and then it stopped. What happened here is I have specified if I is equal to 5, then you have to break the code. And when it became 5, it basically broke the code. It exited from the for loop, even though we had specified it has to run up till 9, because you know that here 10 will not be included. It means from 1 and up to, but not including 10. Let's remove this part of the code and see what happens. Now you can see it ran up to 9. So what it was doing is when it became 5, it was basically stopping it here. When the range when I became 5, it basically exited from the code. There is some other thing which we can do. We can use continue. Let's use continue. Continue skips the current number, but the code will continue as such, and other numbers will be printed. For example, if I have say if I is equal to 5 and then continue, what it will do is it will not print out 5. It will skip the code when I becomes 5, but it will not completely exit from the for loop. It will run all the numbers after 5 and also the numbers before 5, but when it becomes to 5, it will just skip it. So let's run this code now. Now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, but it does not include 5. It, from 4, it goes to 6 because I have specified if I is equal to 5, you have to continue. Now, if I use a single equal, what will happen? It gives syntax error. As I have told you in the previous lectures, when we are putting a value inside a variable, we use a single uh, equal sign. But when we are saying comparing two things, like if I is equal to 5, this is basically comparing I with 5 and saying whether I is equal to 5 or not. In this case, we have to use double equal signs. If we use single equal sign, it will give an error. So now if I run this code, it will run perfectly. Let's use all that we have learned about while and for loops to build something amazing in Python. Let's build a number guessing game. We'll generate a random number and keep asking the user to guess it until they get it wrong. We'll need loops to make this game to accomplish this task. So let's start it. First of all, we have to generate a random number. In order to generate a random number, you have to import a library called random. Now, what is our library? What is random? I will not go into the detail right now because it will be very confusing for you to understand it right now. What I'll do is I'll just show you how to generate a random number. You'll first say import random, right? Then we have to generate a random number. So let's say that random number is the secret number our program has generated. Now random dot rand int, and you'll see 1 comma 10. It will generate a number from the range 1 to 10. And this is the formula to generate a random integer, rand.random. Now remember, this will generate the number 10. It is not the range function. If you use the range function, then it will not include 10, but it will generate numbers up to 9. But here, it is different from the range function. Here, when we have specified 10, it will generate the number 10, but randomly. It will generate a random number from 1 to 10. We don't know what it will generate, but every time it will generate a completely random number. Now, we have to take the guess from the user, right? And let's say um, guess is equal to input guess the number, right? And remember, in order to compare it with our secret integer that we have generated, we have to convert it into an integer, right? Now, what we'll do is while guess is not equal to. Now, for not equal to, we'll use this while guess is not equal to secret. So this block of code will continue to run until and unless the guess is equal to secret. We'll say guess is equal to, let's put the same thing in, guess the number again. Let's try it. You guess the wrong number. Guess the number again. That's what it is. So it will continue to run until the guess is equal to secret, unless we have guess is equal to secret. Until and unless guess is not equal to secret, we'll have this while loop continue to run because this condition is true. As long as this condition guess is not equal to secret is true, this code will continue to run and again and again. Now let's run this code and see what happens. Now it has asked me to guess a number. I say 4. We guess the wrong number. I say 3. Wrong number 1. Wrong number 2. Wrong number 5. 6. 7. 8. So the correct number was 8. But you can see it did not print out anything. It just went out of the loop. So we can do one thing. When it gets out of the loop, we'll print out you guess the right number. And let's write the secret here. Now when I'll guess the right number, it will print out this statement because it will come out of the while loop and it will print out you guess the right number. Now let's make it attractive like this, so that we have a space and a column between the user's input and between this thing that we have printed out for the user, because there is no space here and it is not very good looking that we have 4 just adjacent to the number. We need we need a column and a space to make it more attractive. We can also do this thing. We can also give hints to the user. So we can say if the guess is less than secret. So if guess is less than secret, we'll say print too low. Let's specify another condition. And if guess is greater than secret, print too high. Now let's run this code again. Guess the number. I'll say 4 again. It says you guessed the wrong number. It did not print out. Mm, You guessed the wrong number. Okay, the right number was 2, but it did not print out this. Let me see why. Let me run this code again and see what's the issue properly. Uh, why isn't it running? Let me guess the number. 4. You guessed the wrong number. 3. Okay. Okay, so the issue here is that I do not have any sort of feedback for the first time the user puts in the input, right? When the user first time puts the inputs, say I put in 4 and it generated the right number. I do not remember the right number. I forget. Let's find out the right number. Okay, 7. It has 7, so the secret is 7 and guess is 4. Now it will say while guess is not equal to secret. Since guess is 4 and secret is 7, it will enter this one. And it will ask me for the second time for the input, right? In between these two, I do not have any if statement specified. So that is why for the first variable, I'm not getting any guess, like whether it is too low or it is too high. In order to correct this one, I'll say none. It means that guess does not have any value right now. This is a new thing for you, but if we want guess not to have any value, we can say it as none. We can also say it is zero because our random number will be 1 to 10, but none is better in such conditions. Now when I run this code, okay, I guessed the right number the first time. Let's run this again. And now it is giving me the feedback for even the first time. So that's how you debug your code. You can have problems with your code, but you can have problems with your code, but by running it again and again and by thinking logically, you can spoil it. You cannot. It is not basically possible to build a whole working code in the first go. For example, when I did it the first time, I did not have this part of the code, right? And I did not have this print statement. I ran this code and I thought, okay, when I guessed the right number, it is not printing out anything, and therefore I included this print statement. And then I thought it would be good to have, uh, you can say, a feedback. Now we can also include a ton of more stuff like how many tries a user had before guessing the right, you can say, but before guessing the right number. For example, you can say tries is equal to zero. We have zero tries, and when this code runs four, we can say tries is equal to tries plus one. Now here is an easy code for you to know. If you want to say tries is equal to tries plus one, there is a shorter code for this. We can say this tries plus equal to one. This basically means tries is equal to tries plus one. This is a short code that majority of the people use. Let's say, and you can also print out number of tries, and you can say tries. Now let's run this code again. Oh, now it is giving another error. You guessed the wrong number. It is saying it from the start. We can also fix that. Let's just say make it guess the number. Now let's run this code. Guess the number. Now it will always ask me guess the number, and it will give me feedback so I know whether I got the right number or not. So let's say 4 again, too low, guess the number. Okay, number of tries 6. Now you can see when you run your code again and again, you get some errors in the code, and this is an essential process of debugging, that you run your code again and again and you have problems and then you think about the problems and then solve them. It is very important when you have large pieces of code. There are many things to debug. There are many ways your code can break. So it's like thinking in blocks. Like I did not write all this perfect code the first time. Even you want to write perfect code the first time. Even those who are expert in our fields do not write a perfect code the first time. You have to do the hit and try. You have to debug, and it is completely human to make mistakes in the first try. And I don't think any human will not make mistakes the first time. So you'll make mistakes, but you have to continue to think how can you solve those mistakes, and when you go through all these mistakes, you'll have a pretty tidy code like this one. So we have almost solved all the bugs which I could see. Now this code I can say is perfect. You can copy it, and that's how you basically solve problems in programming. This is the assignment I gave you in the previous lecture. This is the mini challenge I gave you. You have to write a program that takes a student's score from 0 to 100 as an input, and it prints out their grades. So if the score is 90 to 100, grade A, 80 to 89 B, 76 to 79 C, 60 to 69 D, and below 60, it's F. Now here is a bonus requirement. If the score is greater than 100 or less than 0, you have to print invalid score. Please enter a number between 0 and 100. Let's go into the VS Code and solve this problem. We are in the VS Code, and we have to first take the input from the user, and it is user score. So we can say score is equal to input, enter your score. Okay, let's make it an integer right away. Now we'll take the input from the user in the variable score, and like this, enter your score, and for example I say 100, and okay, it's working. Now I'll do, I'll first compare it with my condition. Let's say if score is greater than 89, because it will be then 90 to 100, we'll say print your score is, sorry, your grade is A. Similarly, if the score is greater than 79, we'll say print your grade is D. Now one thing I have to use else here, because when we specify more than that, more than one if statements, when we use more than one if statements, we have to use else instead of if. The first time we use if, and the other times we use else. Now the grade C is greater than 69, so we'll say if your grade is else score is greater than 60, sorry, 59 should be. If you are confused, you can also use greater than or equal to here, because we said that 60 to 69 is grade D. So if I say, sorry, I have written 50 here, it should be 59. But if I say greater than or equal to 60, then it will also include 60. So I can do this. Your grade is D. And now I say else print your grade is F. Now let's run this code. I say 100, it says A, I say 30. Oh, sorry, I did not run this code. I just 30 says F. Now you can see if I put in a number like 200, it will still say A, and if I put in a number like 0 or let's say -1, it will still say F, because I have not done the bonus check. So first of all, we will do this. We will say if score is greater than 100, or you can use all statement, or score is less than, or let's just use less than 0. Print enter a valid code, and we have to use Alice here. Now let's run this code. I will say 120. It says enter a valid score. I run it again, and I say 90. It says grade is A. Now let's say minus 20. Says enter. So we have done all that which was mentioned in the previous mini challenge. We have done it all, and by using if else statements, if else statements, it is very messy. It is a very long code, and there is very much repetition. But we have done what our purpose was to do, and that's all for today. I'll see you in the next lecture. I hope this video was useful for you. See you in the next lecture.